Our guest today is Chintan Oza, a true powerhouse in the world of startups, innovation, and venture ecosystem. Chintan is the founder and managing partner at Anantam Ecosystems, a TEDx speaker, investor, award winning mentor, and an influential voice on global platforms such as G20 and BRICS. With extensive experience in guiding startups from idea to IPO, advising innovation councils, and mentoring at institutions like Stanford Seed and IEEE, Chintan is a trusted guide. He brings exceptional insight, broad expertise, and genuine passion for empowering the next generation of changemakers. So, welcome to the podcast, Chintan.
Hi Naveen. How are you doing? Pleasure being here and joining you for the podcast.
Yeah, likewise. Great to have you on the podcast, and I'm really looking forward to diving into your expertise and experience that you have gathered over several years of working in various different capacity. There are a few things that kind of stands out when I look at your experience, and while we kind of interacted as part of when you were mentoring us for my startup. So I want to start with talking about leadership in digital age. So how leaders can adapt to rapid technological advancement and what are the things that they should be looking for.
See, this is an interesting question. I would like to mention that in 2018 or 19, I read a report by Dell Technologies. It says that by 2030, 85% of the jobs that will exist haven't been invented yet. This was in way back in 2018, 2019. Today, in 2025, I firmly believe that the same sentence stands true. And here's why. Because between 2025 to 2035, we are going to reconstruct the entire economy twice. We'll move from fossil fuel to electric and electric to hydrogen. Entire automobile industry, entire mass transport, entire public transport, all such activities will get transformed. Manufacturing, as such, beyond Industry 4.0, will also get impacted with this fuel cycle. And that is where I believe that leaders must embrace a growth mindset and continue to have a approach of lifelong learning. Any technology, as we see, is on the horizon and then it is widely available. It takes around 3 years' time, and then that is where newer technologies come on the horizon. So, as a captain of the ship, we need to be very alert and start learning new technologies as quickly as possible. Think of generative AI. By the time enterprises started adopting generative AI, there is a flood of agentic AI. So that is how the transformation and the pace of transformation is growing day by day. We need to foster digital fluency, understand AI, blockchain, cybersecurity, data analytics, electric vehicles, 5G, compute, etc. We need our workforce to be future ready. Hence, we all, as a leader and our team members, need to ensure that we encourage data driven, agile decision making by integrating various real time data feeds and various automation tools. Back to you, Naveen.
Those were some really great advices and pointers for any leader who's listening this podcast. Some of the things I've been taking notes, some of the things that kind of stood out are growth mindset, continuous learning, digital literacy, and future ready workforce. So, just as a follow up, you mentioned a series of or list of technologies that leaders should look out for. Quantum is also kind of getting traction. There have been some advancements in quantum side of things, and I believe you have some interest in quantum technology as well. So, what is your thoughts on quantum and how you think AI and quantum will revolutionize things even further?
And quantum would multiply the number of use cases and it would accelerate the adoption of quantum. If we recall days of supercomputer was not widely easily accessible to common men then and even now. However, if we look at accessibility of quantum, many of the programmers are able to access quantum as on date. If we converge multiple use cases of quantum compute along with AI and machine learning, newer use cases would erupt, be it pharmaceutical research, be it preventing frauds in the economy, be it designing newer vehicles or analyzing impact on environment. All these activities would be expedited because of this convergence of AI and quantum.
Yeah. That's very true. And if we look at the flip side of it, all the threat we currently have, like cyber attacks and things like that, those people will also have access to this technology and the threat will increase as well. And I know that you are very actively participating in a lot of the like G20 and some other government initiatives, at least in India. So, what are your thoughts on putting checks and balances around AI governance or quantum governance and things like that so that we avoid this kind of technology getting into the hands of the bad actors?
So that is where I mean, because quantum will give us a superior encryption, and this encryption is not easily breakable. So what I feel is, as such, quantum would be in limited scale rollout. Maybe if we talk about quantum encrypted circuits or communication links, this would be limited. Mainly, quantum would be used in a in-house environment where you are running those algorithms and expediting research or detecting fraudulent transactions in near real time. So while we emphasis on governance, but I'm pretty confident that we are far away from getting these technologies used against humanity. So all of us are responsibly using it. Various governments are alert. Many governments have got policies for encouraging deployment of newer emerging technologies, be it AI, blockchain, or even quantum. They have got those policies, and thus I feel we are in the right pace, in the right direction as a humanity, I would say.
Yeah, I hope that as well. Uh, just touching back upon, I think what I'm trying to ask next, you already touched upon slightly about leaders being a little bit more agile and as early as possible be alert and things like that. So, one thing that becomes even more important in uncertain times like these that we are living in right now is decision making. And decision making under uncertainty is even more becoming more important. And I know you talk about leadership in a VUCA world, VUCA, right? Can you talk a little bit more about it and how leaders can manage volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity? The VUCA.
So, as far as the VUCA terminology is concerned, let me recall one of the statistic I have read that around 70% of digital transformation projects fail due to lack of agility in decision making. So, in my view, VUCA means volatility. We need to be remain agile as far as adoption of technology, roadmap of technology, our enterprise architecture, and our needs of customer, needs of business, the business model as such is concerned. Uncertainty, the U part of VUCA world. We need to use data-driven insights and real-time intelligence. We are in an era where we are generating more data, but analyzing, but we miss to analyze this data. Hence, We need to increase the percentage of data generated versus data analyzed in our enterprises. Complexity, the C part in the VUCA world. We need to simplify the decision making frameworks. We live in a world where humans, machines, algorithm, or intelligence, networks, sensors, and agents live together. I repeat, humans, machines, algorithms, or intelligence, sensors, and agents. Hence, we need to make the decision framework, the decision making absolutely transparent so as and when the business model changes or the scenario changes, the decision making framework or the policies as such would be easily adopted by any of these stakeholders. Last is A part. That is something I would say we need to encourage resilience and prepare for multiple future possibilities. We live in a world where our dependency on technology is increasing day by day. Earlier, finance people used to know finance, doctors used to know their own subject, and there was an IT guy who would do the programming part for them. But now, finance people are doing their data crunching on their own. Doctors have started learning basic programming so that they can program machines around them, like the robots were doing surgeries. Hence, we all need to have an eye on newer things coming up. And as such, adoption of new technology, new thought process, new business model, or new idea is not going to happen overnight. We need to be open towards innovation and allocate certain time to learn new things and embrace innovation. Back to you, Naveen.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think leaders who understand and embrace VUCA are the one who gonna embrace and succeed in this kind of uncertain environment. So thank you so much for all this. Now, our podcast wouldn't be complete if I didn't cover the startup side of things that you have been actively engaged in. So there are a few things that I will kind of want to touch upon from entrepreneurial and startup side. One of them is entrepreneurial leadership. So going from a founder to a CEO. So the leadership transition from being a startup founder to an effective CEO. How one should look at it, especially a startup founder. Because at some point in their journey, as startup grows, they will have to resume the role of a CEO, and not all founders have this knowledge and expertise of being an effective CEO. So what are the things they should be kind of considering, thinking about, learning about when they are in the position of transition?
A very interesting question because I would like to mention one point here. A founder builds a product and a CEO builds a company. So, given the statistic, only 25% of the founders successfully transition to being a long term CEO. People believe otherwise. If you are the founder, you are de facto CEO. And that is where they commit mistakes and they face challenges and they take time in realizing their entrepreneurship journey and the dream. Hence, please understand, if you are a maker, if you know how to build product, go ahead and remain head of products or chief product officer and appoint someone else as CEO. There is no harm in it. However, when you promote yourself from a founder to CEO, you need to have a CEO mindset. You need to move from visionary mindset to execution mindset. For
Love that.
CEO, end result matters. As in when you are a founder, you are the doer. But as in when you become a CEO, your job is to empower people and make sure that you remove hurdles in their work areas and make sure that they deliver what they are supposed to deliver. So there is a change in mind shift.
Hmm.
As a founder, many a times we do not have the financial expertise, or I must say, finance acumen. Acumen would be the right word here.
Yeah.
So, if you are planning to become a CEO, make sure that you develop a eye on statistics and then understand those vanity metrics.
Hmm.
Build a founders team where people who would complement your weaknesses should be around you, and they should be equally passionate to realize your vision and your mission. So that is how you can build your transition from a founder to a CEO, and that is something one must cautiously plan and execute.
I really like the answer, especially the part where you talked about going from being a visionary to execution mindset. I think that's the key here, at least from my point of view. And another thing I really loved was about vanity metrics that gets a lot of the founders really get bogged down into tracking the metrics that doesn't really matter into the overall success of the startup. And I think those are the vanity metrics you're referring to, right?
And one thing I must insist that you must take a note of: a founder builds a product and a CEO builds a company.
Yeah, 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 definitely. Uh, Building upon growing and the scale, when a startup or a company is going from being a small organization to scaling up, some of the challenges that whoever is running the company can encounter is around building the high performance team. Like you said, you should get people around you who complements your weaknesses and also who are equally passionate about product. So building high performance teams. So how a leader can foster innovation and collaboration, especially when they are transitioning from a startup to scale up.
See, let me tell you, you cannot build a high performance team overnight. High performance team is a result of trust, alignment, faith, and relentless execution.
Love the last part,
Right?
relentless execution. Yeah.
We have, in our days when we studied management, we have read or we have been taught culture eats strategy for breakfast. And I still believe that yes, you need strong value to drive high performance teams. Another part for me is need to align your team goals with the mission of the company. Many a times at the seed stage, founder thinks all of for solving something, and eventually they create a difference between their vision, their mission, and what they are building. And they slightly move away from their vision and mission. That is where I advise to keep on visiting, revisiting, and again socializing mission and vision with all stakeholders. If we live in a borderless world, we should invest into cross border collaboration so that diverse perspective can be included. If you want to build a world class product, then you must have a team which brings in diverse perspectives on the table. Think of products, be it Google, be it Facebook, be it Android, be it Netflix. People understand the user interface, be it of any age, any caste, any religion, any financial status. Hence, you need to make sure that you get more and more perspective so that a long lasting world class product can be built. At present, it's becoming a bit easy because there are various AI powered tools that help you to manage the talent, productivity, as well as efficiency. So, when we move from startup to scale up, we need to understand that maintaining the momentum, sticking to the vision and mission, socializing the vision and mission, bringing in cross border perspectives, and using the right tools. These are the few points we must learn. Back to you.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more with pretty much everything you said, especially the socializing vision and mission part. People write these documents at the beginning of their journey and then they forget about it. It becomes very outdated and they rarely revisit these things. It happened with me as well while you were kind of mentoring us for our startup. And that's one of the learning that came out of you providing us mentoring and coaching. So, building upon that mentoring and coaching part, how do you see the impact of mentoring and coaching in terms of leadership development, especially developing the next generation of leaders?
So, I read somewhere even the smartest of the mountaineers need a Sherpa. Great mentor doesn't show the way, they help mentee to discover their own path. In 2022, I was awarded Best Mentor Award by Nasdaq's Entrepreneur Center. As on date, three of my mentees have created unicorns. Hence, as a mentor, I can share my experience with confidence that a mentor's role is to accelerate learning, not to define contours for the mentee. And at times, reverse mentoring is also equally important. You need to unlearn and relearn a couple of new things. I do not have account on Instagram because there was some Instagram live. I had to create an account and I had to approach my younger son who was in 8th grade then to explain what Instagram is. I was running short of time, hence I kept away from Instagram. But as and when there was an opportunity, I took time and learned it. We all need to have that mindset of learning. And I would say one mentor doesn't fit all scenarios. One must have a pool of mentors. These mentors would open doors for you.
Mm.
These mentors would keep you on track. And with their experience, they will make sure that you do not rediscover the wheel. So that is how having a mentor by your side is an advantage.
I absolutely agree, and I think I found the value when you were mentoring us, and you I think on many occasions you stopped us from reinventing the wheel. So, yeah, couldn't agree more about having a mentor, especially if you're a startup. Going back to just one last question on scaling up startups, what are some of the challenges that you can share that you see early stage startup face and how to navigate them? Some of the common challenges.
So there are challenges as far as entrepreneurship traits are concerned, commitment of an entrepreneurs are concerned. First one is building the MVP. It's a big myth that you build a MVP for investor. You build a MVP for the customer. Until you build a MVP, get initial customers, investor would not be interested in investing in your startup. Team formation is another challenge. People do not like to share and they try to keep the secret sauce with them. Hence, it creates isolated workstations or people doing same thing because they need to do something. This is where teams are not able to move in a right direction in a productive environment. So the solution for this is to have an eye on like-minded people and then understand that it takes time to build a team. So build a team of like-minded people and then move to realize your dream. Many a times people also scale faster than needed. This ruins the initial product market fit because when you start scaling fast abnormally, then what happens is you miss to capture the learning which comes out of the initial product market fit. The initial product market fit is indeed important because that would throw certain lessons, and you need to again go back and do certain tweaking to your product or services. And probably last two challenges or learnings, I would say, try to research the investor you are approaching. Avoid approaching any and many investors because that would create dissatisfaction. If anyone gives me a pitch deck that that is from something which I do not invest into, then I may not process that pitch deck, right? I may simply ignore. So if you keep on sending your pitch deck to 50 to 100 investors every day, that would create dissatisfaction and frustration. So try to identify the right investors who are investing into your domain, approach them, try to understand their preferences, and then build traction over it. And last thing I would say, compliance. Many founders do not understand importance of compliance. While you are building certain product, there are different type of compliance which are needed. You need to make sure that you are well aware of these compliances. Recently, it happened so that one of my founder used to get an order, but certain certification for that specific device was pending, and he lost that order. So you need to make sure you need to research well in advance that what sort of certifications are applicable, and then you need to meticulously approach towards clearing those certifications. Yes, so these are the kind of, I would say, challenges we
Hmm.
face around, and I must say that one must have a clearer vision and
Hmm.
traction from customer.
On the so the two follow-up questions. One is around the secret sauce, and I've read it somewhere or watched someone's interview that said if someone comes to me before pitching or sharing their idea, then say you need to sign an NDA. You never talk to them basically. So, what is your thought on all this NDA stuff? Especially, I personally have seen many small startups who are just going around and asking people to sign NDA even before they start any conversation.
Yeah, so what I tell them is okay, fine, remove all your proprietary information from the deck. Just draw a rectangle and say proprietary technology, and then help me understand what you are building, what problem you are solving. I do not want to get exposed to any of the proprietary information. And I would not like to sign an NDA because I want to look into the proprietary information or technology. I'm least interested in what it is all about. Hence, I ask them to keep anything and everything available in public domain. Remove all your proprietary information. This is initially it looks a bit strange, but eventually it helps maintain the trust, because as and when we move further, I am not exposed to that information, and if we want to dwell down, then I again call them, and that is how it works. So I avoid getting exposed to any of the proprietary information, and I tell this to all my mentees as well. Do not disclose any of your proprietary technical architecture information to anyone. Just mention proprietary information, even if you sign an NDA. But as and when you face any challenges, which person, which NDA, the weak link, probably it is difficult to ascertain. And that is where avoid sharing any of the proprietary information to investors in initial tractions. As and when investor decides to have a deep dive with you and start the due diligence, then both the parties can formally sign an NDA and then disclose the real information. Until then, please make sure that you protect your proprietary information.
That actually makes sense. What I've seen, so I've been part of some of the pitch competitions and things like that in London, and they said like if you want us to sign NDA, don't participate. And if you remove a lot of the proprietary information, can't really, not all the time, convey the actual value of your pitch and idea. So it's kind of a chicken and egg situation. Sometimes, not always.
So still you can explain, because you need to explain what you are solving. not how you are solving, right?
Yeah,
What
yeah.
problem you are solving. You are explaining what part of it, not how part of it. I may be interested in your business model, not your technology architecture.
Great. Another follow-up question on that was go-to-market strategy. You must have advised, if not thousands, hundreds of startups for sure. What is your thought on the importance of go-to-market strategy?
Well, I tell this to all my mentees. Go to market strategy is not a complex looking diagram, but a strategy in action. If your go to market strategy doesn't indicate how many customers or how many logo or what revenue in what time frame, then it is a open-ended strategy, open-ended diagram which doesn't take you anywhere. Your go to market strategy has to have time scale as a fixed parameter. Another fixed parameter you can have is either revenue or number of customers. Once you fix these two parameters, you will be able to craft a GTM statement which would help you crystallize your route to market and then have a breakup for each of the channels in these route to markets. For example, GTM statement could be: here's our plan to win first 1000 customers in 90 days. So whatever you do to win first 1000 customers in 90 days becomes your GTM. So what I did in this GTM statement, I fixed the time scale 90 days. And another thing what we did, how can we get 1000 customers? To get these two parameters, to achieve these two parameters, whatever you do, be it email marketing, social media marketing, any of other RTMs becomes your parameters to measure. And thus you create a trackable GTM plan which you can monitor and track. While you are in execution phase, there is one more advice. Try to work with what is working best for you. Do not try to understand the weakness and improve on weaknesses. At times, if email marketing is not working, then that's fine. Accept it for the initial phase and move further. Rather, spending time, efforts, money into making sure that email marketing builds traction, because success of your first GTM phase is very important. So play on your strengths rather than improving on your weaknesses. That's my message.
I love that message very much. I think one should just either print it and stick it in front of them, especially when they're preparing for go to market. So, Chintan, it has been a great conversation, and I'm sure your insights will bring value to the listeners. One last thing, where can people find you, especially if they would like to leverage your expertise?
Well, I'm available on LinkedIn, so feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn and drop me a message, and I'll be happy to answer.
Fantastic. So, thank you so much for joining me today, Chintan.
Thank you so much. Pleasure being around, and I wish you all the best.
Likewise, likewise. It was a pleasure, and goodbye, everyone.